if I go out with my friends and someone has like a gummy or something, I take it and then I was like, I like it, but it's not the right way to do it. The right way to do it is how you do it. So maybe I should set a goal that like it's only for recreational purposes.
When you're doing those things and when you're trying to achieve those goals, ask yourself, why are you setting those goals? They have to be impactful for you and they've got to resonate with you, because that's what's going to make it stick.
The more specific you are, the easier it gets, and the more measurable you get. You just build a habit automatically. And we're in.
Welcome to Triangle Theory.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man.
I think this topic is really important because when I used to set goals for myself, I used to set myself these unachievable targets of what I want to achieve, but it was kind of unrealistic. And when December comes, especially end of December, you start thinking about what you want to achieve in the next year, and you get all excited, but I feel that excitement can become almost like an enemy for you because you put these unrealistic goals. So I pulled up some statistics, and I think you did as well.
I mean, like, just to say, like, you're not the only one sort of failing those New Year's resolutions, because I think it says 80% of all New Year's resolutions fail by the second week of February, which makes so much fucking sense because every time I'm in the gym in January, it's rammed. And then by February, it's like half the people. And I get annoyed because I'm like, the probability of that guy on that bench press is going to be here next month. So like, get the fuck out of the way. But anyway, pull out some statistics. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so I found the same one as you just mentioned, but then only 8% of resolutions are kept by the end of the year, while 39% of people in their 20s manage to keep their resolutions until the end of the year.
Oh, damn.
This figure drops to 14% among people in their 50s.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, so
I thought people as you get older, you'd be more inclined to stick with it.
Yeah, I feel like people are getting more disciplined as they
I think so, yeah.
That's what I thought, but it seems like, no, I feel like younger people are a bit more driven to achieve goals, and then as you're getting older, you just don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, or like you've got, I don't know, kids, commitments, you're just not like... things like, I don't know. But yeah, that's really interesting.
And then I noticed the 5 most popular resolutions in the UK are...
Oh, yeah, okay.
If you could give a guess, what would that be?
Going to the gym, so like losing weight, I think would be a massive one. Cutting out alcohol, probably.
Okay.
Is that not one?
Well, you got 2, lose weight and exercise more.
Okay. Eat healthier.
Yeah, third one.
Things like less chocolate and shit like that. I don't know, just being more like specific.
I guess it goes into eat healthier, but then the other 2, save more money.
Oh, save money, yeah, makes sense.
And then spend more time with family and friends, which I found very interesting. That is one of the resolutions. I feel like
kind of goes to show what's really important in life. Spend time,
exactly right.
Spend time with family, save money, exercise, don't drink. That's kind of like. Yeah. I mean, if you can live like that for the year as a whole, I think you're killing it. Yeah. This was something interesting that I didn't actually know. The tradition of resolutions. So brief history. New Year's resolutions date back to 4,000 years, so the Babylonian era. They made promises to their gods to return borrowed items and pay debts. The concept stuck through the centuries, evolving what we now call resolutions. I think it resonates for people because there's something about a clean slate that feels so motivating. It's time to reflect on what's working in our lives and what's not. I think kind of common ones, like you've said, but I mean, a lot of times what I've got here is I think it's people set unattainable ones.
Yeah.
So, or it's not specific enough. It's too vague. I remember that time when you and I sat almost a year ago now, where we were setting goals and it was like stuff that wasn't backed by the action of which we control, or they just weren't clear enough. They were just too vague. So it's like, get healthy. It's like, that's too vague. You need to be like, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week and I'm going to work on this chest, back and whatever.
Exactly.
Like, you know?
Yeah.
Because then it could even be like, I want to lose £10 by this date, and then just keep having that date in your calendar and work towards it. Like,
Yeah, I remember last year, my girlfriend and I were talking about our New Year resolutions because we set in goals for each year, and
yeah,
I feel like I'm at that point right now where I tried all of these techniques of setting goals, and I chose a specific one when, as I mentioned on the podcast many times, where you focus on your output instead of just the best possible outcome.
yeah,
So when we were talking with her, I was like, I'm not going to eat cakes, chocolate, all of that in 2024. And she said, oh, I'm gonna eat less of chocolates. I was like, but you need to be specific of how much is less. Like, how much you're eating right now? And she's like, well, once or twice a month. But that's not true because sometimes you have like birthdays, celebrations, you meet a friend, you want like a cake, and then you eat it. Like, so it's like now it's 3-4 times a month, not
yeah,
like one or two. And I feel like you have to be, as you said, very specific on how much you're gonna eat and when you're gonna eat and all of that stuff. It's very similar to one of our episodes we did on how to set smart goals. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound goals. So you have, as you said, I'm gonna go to gym 2-3 times a week. I'm gonna work on chest, back, and legs. And you can even be as specific as gonna go on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then other days gonna be my rest days and
yeah.
that stuff. So the more specific you are, the easier it gets, and the more measurable you get. You just build a habit automatically, I think.
Mm.
Yeah.
What is it? Something that you do at the end of the year, or sort of even at the beginning of the year, that do you give yourself like an allotted time to come up with your goals that you want to achieve for the year and give yourself resolutions then, or do you kind of already have an idea before the year's up?
Yeah, I kind of have an idea, but at the same time, I make sure I sit down and write it down.
Yeah.
So,
hey guys, thank you so much for making it this far into the podcast. If you have any feedback, then please let us know, as we always want to make this podcast better. So hearing from you is always a pleasure. Please subscribe to all of our platforms, get involved at Triangle Theory. If you've got any comments or if you want to share any topics that you think that me and Conrad would like to talk about, then please get involved. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
usually when December enters, like I feel like I'm slowing down a lot. Like the goals are not as important as it was in January. Although most of the goals that I wanted this year I achieved, so I'm really happy about it. But yeah, I just give myself, like, I slow down a bit, and I feel then I start to reflect about
Yeah.
the past year and what I did right, what I did wrong, where I could improve next year. And I write a lot. Like, I write my goals for the next year and try to see what I did last year and then reflect. And I've got like a document where I name a New Year's Eve to 2023, 2024, and so on and so on. So yeah, just as I think, just give myself some time to think.
Nice.
But I always, as soon as December hits, I always start to kind of think and reflect about the past year, and then all I need to do is just sit down one day and just write everything down.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
So for January, for like, if I can, in like the first kind of couple of weeks, I do a recap of the year, and then I break into health, career, hobbies and interests, and family. I break those down into what I want to achieve, and then set them quarterly. So then try and achieve it by the quarters up.
It's very interesting because that's something I did for 2025.
Yeah.
Like, I set down career, finances, relationships, lifestyle, which is my hobbies. And I also add like non-negotiables and blockers.
Yeah.
So every year I choose one thing that I'm not going to do.
Yeah.
So this year was chocolates, cakes, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Next year I think I'm going to do no caffeine. which is gonna be fucking hard.
Right.
Because I'm like, I love coffee.
Yeah.
But I feel like I love to the point where
How many cups do you drink a day?
I drink one, sometimes two. But if it's Saturday or Sunday, I do as much as three.
Really? I
'Cause I
do,
just
I do
love-
2 a day.
But you know what? I've noticed that it really impacts my mood. Like,
Does it?
I like when I have a coffee and like after 20 minutes you start feeling
Feeling a
like,
bit buzzed.
you know what, everything is fine. Like I'm happy. I'm really content with where I am. And then after like an hour and a half or like 2 or 3 hours, there's a crash, and I start feeling anxiety.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, this is just how I see world, but I think that's just because of the coffee. So I don't know. I'm gonna give it a try next year, see how I feel.
Are you going to supplement it with anything else?
I'm not going to do. So I'm not fully sure on that, but I'm thinking not to do no alcohol, no shrooms, and no weed as well next year. Just
Cut it out.
but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that yet, because I don't know what's my why behind it. So
Yeah. I think
I'm just very excited about New Year, and
yeah.
so I'm not sure. So I don't say yes, but definitely no caffeine. Definitely no caffeine. What about you?
Probably alcohol, the main one. I mean, I don't smoke weed, and then shrooms I'll only do like once in a while. So I don't I don't do it enough for me to know the difference.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's the thing, because I felt like I abused it a bit this year. Like, every time I did it, like if I go out with my friends and someone has like a gummy or something, I take it, and then I was like I like it, but it's not the right way to do it. Like, it's the right way to do it is how you do it.
Yeah.
So maybe I should set a goal that like it's only for recreational purposes.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I did it was that time we went to the York. So I'd like to do that again next year.
Yeah.
And I do it again properly, where we have like a bigger tent and stuff. But more or less, just I think doing it for the times that we had, like in the Lake District, once in a while is good.
Yeah.
But you got some stuff on sort of the brain about New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, so I'll just read a bit from the research that I found. So it's about that feeling that you get excited about New Year's.
Yeah.
And I feel that's why people set unachievable goals, because if brain releases dopamine. So just on the research that I found. So when you set a resolution and begin to follow through, your brain releases a neurohormone called dopamine. Dopamine helps regulate the brain's reward and pleasure centers and emotional responses.
Yeah.
So through dopamine, though dopamine levels are initially high as you embark on your resolution, they tend to drop over time. So that's, I think, why people in February just quit their resolutions, because by the time they start doing it,
Yeah.
dopamine level drops, and they're like, you know what, I don't really care
They're just
about
not
that
motivated. Yeah.
much. Yeah. So I mentioned, if you don't have a structure in place to keep you motivated, the behavior you're engaging, it will tend to trail off. So again, you need to set specific goals, and you need to kind of set yourself a structure and specific routine to keep you motivated on that goal. So
Yeah.
going back to your why and just having a plan according to your own schedule in a way.
Yeah.
Because it, again, like let's just say if you're like 300 pounds, like you weigh 300 pounds, and then you say by the end of the year I'm gonna compete in bodybuilding. Like that's a very what's it called, ambitious goal, but is it realistic? Like how are you gonna achieve it, and so on and so on. So maybe start with by the Q2 or Q3 I'm gonna drop 30 pounds or like 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Start with 1 pound. Like I'm gonna drop 1 pound, and then that way you're just gonna keep yourself motivated, I think.
For sure. It's also like turning it into a habit and turning it into a discipline where motivation isn't there.
Yeah.
Because like motivation is one of those things that it's only like short term.
Yeah.
You know, like you can listen to a video on YouTube and like grind and have a great gym session for like one day of that week, but it's having systems in place that allow you to go to the days where you don't want to go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, funny. So jiu-jitsu was one of those things this year where I was like, I'm committed to do it. I'm going to do it 2 days a week. That's it. And even on Friday, this Friday just gone, it was pissing down with rain. I felt like shit, as you can.
Congrats on your stride, by the way.
Thank you. As you can tell, I've got like a sore throat, runny nose. It was pissing down with rain. I was also like a little bit hungover from this Christmas party thing I went to. And I was just like, the last thing I could possibly think about doing is go to jiu-jitsu right now. I was like, I do not want to go. And Charlie always has this thing and says, the days that you don't want to go are the days where you have to go.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's like, you have to go now. Because now you said you don't want to go, now you have to go.
That's like it's like a mirror. You're talking
Yeah.
a mirror. Like, I don't want to go. Well, that's exactly where you need to go.
I called Danica and I was like, I don't think I'm going to go tonight. Like, I really don't want to go. And she was like, you're going to hate yourself if you don't go. She was like, and I don't want to be around you when you hate yourself because you didn't go to jiu-jitsu. She was like, just go. So she was like, you need to go. And then, yeah, fucking went. And then that was the day I got my third strike.
Oh,
so
that's
I was like,
sick.
I was like, oh, fuck, I'm so glad I went. But I suppose it just became like that, just sort of like discipline. And like the other thing that motivates you is like, it was one of those things where I was like, no, I said I was going to go 2 days a week, every week. Beginning of this year, I'm not going to let myself down right now. And apart from like when you go on holiday or whatever, but
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I was just like, there's no excuse. So I'm like, I think having those things in place and those things to revert back to, like I was even looking at my phone and on my Notion notes, the goals and things that I have, and I was just like looking through it and I was just like, fuck, I did tell myself I was going to do it. So it's just like, I suppose it's like paying yourself the respect as well.
Yeah, it's like looking back on the person that wrote down these goals. It means that that person that wrote down these, wrote down that I'm going to go to jiu-jitsu twice a week. Like that person, he wanted you to become this person who's consistent with jiu-jitsu. But now you're looking back on it and you're like, well, if I'm not going there, I'm not that person who my previous past wanted to become. Yeah. So it's very good exercise to look back on what you wrote down and just reflect. And I feel like that's why vision boards are like so powerful, that you can always look on it and you're like, well, 12 months ago I wrote down that I really want to achieve this, and I'm like, I'm not sticking to what I wanted to do, so because like I'm tired or whatever. Like if you're ill, like you got temperature, it's fine, like if you're on holiday. But if you just being a little bitch, then it's not nice, innit? And then I feel like, just to your point, I was doing a research on the fresh start
I was going to say.
So, you know, when you say like, oh, I'm not going to go today, I'm going to go on Monday. Or like, I'm not going to do this month, I'll go on 1st of January or 1st of February. And that's the same with like, I'm not going to do it this year, I'm going to do it on the 1st, like in 2025. And that's called like the fresh start effect. So a bit of reading is the fresh start effect in the context of productivity refers to a psychological phenomenon where individuals are more inclined to pursue their objectives and implement positive changes following temporal landmarks, such as the start of new week, month, or a year. So again, I'm going to start on Monday, on the 1st of February, on my birthday. And these moments serve as psychological turning points, enabling individuals to mentally detach from the past failures and setbacks, embracing a new beginning with renewed determination. The fresh start effect encourages long-term thinking, reevaluating priorities, and recommitting to personal and professional objectives. So you can use it as a vehicle, but then you have to stick with it. Like, I feel I love doing New Year resolutions because it helps me to stick with it. Like the majority of resolutions that I set myself, I I achieve most of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you think like when you set dates to be like, I'm going to do this for this date, that you're just kind of like constantly pushing it back? Because then when you get to that date, you're like, oh, I'll actually start on this date.
So again, I think there's a fine line. Some people, if in the past you did that exercise and it helped you to commit to that thing, then you kind of have this belief about yourself that when that day comes, I'm going to do this and that.
Yeah.
But if you continuously failed at that specific thing, when tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up at 7 a.m. and go for a run, and you didn't, then you, I think, less likely to do that the next day or the next week as well. So it's all about the past experiences, I think. Which I literally said my own fucking thing. Like so many times I said to myself, I'm gonna wake up, and I just don't.
It's hard, yeah, because you're stacking up those failures.
Yeah.
Which again feed into the person that you think you are as someone that's
exactly
fails at that.
Yeah, and it's so annoying because I feel like at other things, I'm quite disciplined when it comes to that. Like, I'm gonna do this thing at that specific time, and I'm doing it. But with waking up, it's just one thing that I just can't crack the code.
Horrible.
Like I feel like
I don't think anyone can.
I had a system, unless you Jocko Willing and David Goggins. No, you can, obviously. It's just I feel like with waking up, there's a huge part of, it's like, it's not only waking up, it's when you're going to sleep. Because it's, you want to wake up early, but you don't want to go sleep early. And that's the problem. And you just kind of shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
When you go sleep at like 12 o'clock and then you have to wake up at like 7.
Yeah.
So I think if I would set myself a goal to go sleep at like 10 or like 10:30 max, then it would be easier for me to
wake up at the same time.
So that's something that I'm actually gonna write this down. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it. Yeah. Wake up, go sleep.
You got to have a sleep time routine.
That's it.
Have a wake up routine.
Bedtime routine. Yeah, sleep.
So if you're like, I'm going to go to bed at this time, that will allow you to. But if you've got no routine and structure for the time that you go to bed, then how can you expect yourself to wake up at the time?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why it's important to have like a wind down, chill out before you go to sleep, because then it's easier for you to wake up at the time that you've given yourself.
Yeah. Why do most resolutions fail? I feel like we kind of discussed this because people just set in unrealistic goals. So we talked about this many times in the podcast about setting smart goals, and I mentioned just earlier that focus on the output instead of the outcome. When we set it, I mean, I mentioned this example so many times on this podcast, but when we set goals for Triangle Theory, I remember at first we like, oh, we need 10k subscribers by the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's something that we can't control. We can control by recording, and yeah, we did like 42.
Just keep doing it.
42 episodes this year. And we wanted 52, but we said as long as it's 80%, we achieved it. So we did 42. Well done.
Brilliant. Well done, Will.
Well
Thank
done,
you.
Will. Thank
Smashed it for this year.
Yeah. So should we? I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you think we should set New Year resolutions, or it's more like a pat on the back at the end of the year because you didn't really achieve?
Do you think we should set New Year's resolutions? Yeah, I think it's like having a goal going into a day, having a goal going into a week, or having a monthly goal. I think having yearly goals are really important because it's allowing you to look at the year as a whole. Mm-hmm. And I think the long-term goals that you set yourself is really important. So let's say you want to be somewhere by 10 years. It's like setting that back to a 5-year, setting that back to a yearly, setting that back to a monthly, weekly, daily. Mm-hmm. So I think, going into the beginning of a year is really important because you're going, right, this is where I want to be next year. This is how we're measuring it. What can I do monthly that's going to allow me to do that I can do weekly, that I can do daily, that I can do right now. And like, don't get me wrong, like I'm very much the kind of person where it's like, if I want to stop like having a drink so much, like instead of doing it and be like, oh, I'll start next week after my birthday, I'll be like, I might as well just do it right now. But yeah, I think it's really important to have that. And I think just be really sort of like patient and realistic with yourself, instead of also being like cutting things out cold turkey. Although that might work for some people, it could also be like lowering the amount of units that you have, or, you know, it doesn't have to be like from 1 to 1,000. It's just like, look at the gradual steps, because that's how you will achieve it long term. It's like the slight edge, one of our favorites. It's small things over time that will compound into big results. It's like looking at the micro things.
Yeah.
It's really important to have a yearly overview, but then looking at what you can do today that will get you to that. And just being patient with the process, because nothing that was worth anything was done straight away. It's always takes a long time to achieve. And that's where the work is. You know, that's where the daily grind, so to speak, the work that people don't want to do is the one that takes the long time. You know, no business ever that's ever made it was achieved overnight. Like Apple, Tesla, Amazon, like those have all been around for like 10, 20 years before they even became a thing, and then only in the last year that they, and you might find that. So like, let's say, just speaking for a weight or exercise specific goal, like going to the gym repetitively, all of a sudden 3 months down the line you'll go, fuck, I look good now.
So that's a few points on what you just mentioned as well. Like, we're not robots at the end of the day. Like,
No,
it's,
we're humans. Yeah.
I would love to be like a robot in a way, where I'm just like, I'm gonna do this, and that, and I'm not going to give a shit about how I feel. But sometimes that feeling gets too much, and then you like, it's either burnout or there is some things that there are some times where I can ignore it, and I still can push it, but sometimes it gets too much, and then you just like, that's it, like I'm feeling, and then you start feeling behind, and then you start feeling like a
piece of shit.
So on your point that quitting things cold turkey is not the best idea for some people. For me personally, it works. I think.
It works for me.
If it's New Year resolutions, it works. But then quitting like if it doesn't work for a person, you just setting yourself for failure in a way. So that way you're gonna stack this negative bias in the back of your mind, and then it's going to be even harder for you to get to these other goals that you want to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even since like the last 5 years of starting DOSMAS, like if I was to say 5 years ago, I want to open up a shop straight away, without having gone through all the process between when I first started DOSMAS to having Spitalfields where I'm at now, I would have been so overwhelmed, and I probably wouldn't have worked probably. But because I've had that journey to get to where I'm at now I'm able to run it, capable, and you know, so it's just like, like from cutting things cold turkey to wanting things straight away, long term right now, it's like the gradual, slow route is the only route, you know, because you might find yourself like either overwhelmed or it won't work, it will fail long term, you know, unless they're kind of like short bursts of things. But
what did you set? Did you set any goals for 2025 and what?
No. So I normally do it. It takes me like, there's actually, funnily enough, it was actually this thing that Chris Williams put out. I've actually got it here.
You just reminded me as well, when you said that big companies like Tesla, Apple, they didn't build anything for like their first years. Like it took a lot of time for them to take off. Yeah. And as you mentioned, Chris Williamson as well. Like I was watching his last video called not last, but like one of his personal videos. It's called Calling London's Calling.
Yeah.
London is Calling, and he came back and he had a show in London, and it's like I was doing this podcast every time of the week for like 3-4 years, and no one was listening. Only just now in the last 2 years, it popped, and everyone's kind of thinking, oh, like your podcast is so successful, and like
took 10 years to get there.
Yeah, it took you like 6-7 years to get there, and surprisingly in 2024, of all of his audience, 66% started listening in 2024.
Yeah.
So, hey guys, your feedback is very important, and no, this is not an advertisement. Actually, what I'm asking from you is to leave a comment below what you liked, and most importantly, what you disliked about this episode, because we can improve on the next episodes and we can make a better content for you to listen. Give us also a topics you'd like to us talking about, and we can prepare, do your research, and talk about it on the next episodes. Thank you. It's just like, it just compounds.
Well, it's like Gary Vaynerchuk. Everyone was like, oh, congratulations, you're an overnight success. He was like, yeah, but I've been grinding for 10 years.
Yeah.
It takes 10 years to do anything. And it's actually speaking to a dear friend of mine earlier in the week. And he was telling me about this podcast that he was listening to. And it's this music producer called Goldie.
Mm-hmm.
And Goldie was like, for anyone that wants to get into the music industry or even just something creative, it's a 10-year process. And he was like, for the first 2 years, you should be just making noise.
Mm-hmm.
Like if someone that's wanting to get into music, for example, so you're just making as much noise as you can. You're not making any music, you're not making any sound. You're hearing and understanding noises. From years 2 to 4, you're then recreating and copying music of people that you love. So you're recreating that song, you're trying to play it yourself and understand it. And then from years 4 to 6, you're then starting to create your own music. So making all the mistakes, kind of just really trying to, again, not perfectly, but just creating your own music. And then from years 6 to 8, you're then putting that music out there, understanding what China you're getting from people, changing things around, still releasing your own music. And then from years 8 to 10 is when you capitalize on the music that you've created. And it's taken 10 years in order to get to the end, which is capitalizing on the music that you created. But even like when me and Charlie first started DOSMaster, we spent like 8 months just sat every single day in my mum's house writing out what we wanted DOSMaster to be. It took so long. And that was because we were like, it's going to be something, but this is a start. And that's the process, isn't it? So if it's like...
It takes decades, man.
So if it's like, yeah, if you want to start a business, if you want to start a podcast, or, it's all got to start somewhere, and it's never going to be like the thing straight away that you idolize for it to be. Like, Chris Williams, like all those guys, they all started in like nothing. Like Joe Rogan even was just him on his mate.
Yeah.
Like,
for the first like 300 episodes, he said it
no
was
one
like
listened.
Him and his mate, yeah.
No one listened. Aubrey Marcus's podcast, no one listened. No, like it takes that long.
And I'm fine with it. Like that's you know what, like when we started doing this podcast, we said we're gonna do it for the sake of having conversations, and that's what I really enjoyed.
It's like for the sake of jiu-jitsu, it's like, but then like you got to ask yourself why you're really doing it. Like even when Martin called my stripe out, it's like it's not about the stripe.
Exactly.
Like yes, the reward is that, but when he was calling out other people's names, I was like, of course you want him to call your name out. But at the same time, it's like it's not about that, and I don't care if he does or not. I just think I'm here because I love it. And that's what you got to ask yourself when you're doing the things, because when you're doing those things and when you're trying to achieve those goals, ask yourself, why are you setting those goals? They have to be impactful for you, and they've got to resonate with you, because that's what's going to make it stick. If you're going to set yourself a goal that you don't really care about, or doesn't really resonate with you, then the likelihood is you're never going to achieve it. So when setting goals, like ask yourself, like, why is this so important to me? Why do I really want this goal? Like if it's saving money, it's like, I'm really bad at saving money and I'm really insecure about the money that I have. Okay, then you know, the likelihood of you saving 80% of your funds while living in London is like not likely. So
Good luck.
Good luck. So ask yourself, you know, what can I do to introduce more, like whatever it might be. But
Yeah.
those are the important ones, you know.
So do you have like
But
an idea of what you're gonna achieve?
I normally recap it. So I'll do things like coolest experiences, my favorite moments, my favorite places that I've been to, my favorite artists for the year, my favorite quotes, my favorite book. And then I'll review it. So annual review of my career, what I learned, my relationships, what I learned, my health, what I learned, my personal growth, what I learned. And then I'll ask myself, like, what habit system accounted for the most of my success? What are the most valuable ways I'm spending my time over the year? What brought me the most happiness? How can I allocate more time to these areas? And then I'll then go into, where is it? It takes a long fucking time. What didn't I expect to complete? Sorry, what did I want to complete this year but didn't?
Mm-hmm.
Why? And then knowing what advice I'd give myself. Sorry, knowing what I know now, what advice would I give myself to the person at the beginning of the year?
Can you send me these afterwards as well? That sounds interesting.
Yeah, my biggest wins, what I learned from each. Where was my time and attention and energy best spent? How can I double down on the areas of that? Where could my time and attention and energy be allocated more effectively?
Mm-hmm.
And then I then go to annual planning. So what's the most important goal for next year? Why is achieving this goal important to me? What will success look like? How will I know I've succeeded? So it's like really important knowing like the goal that you're setting and what the importance of setting that goal. What does the success then look like once you've achieved it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just having like a picture and exact image of how it
yeah
looks like,
so
right?
manifesting that.
Yeah.
Milestones. How will I know I'm on track to achieving this goal? So Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So Q1 milestone was for me because one of them was, okay, so this was last year to 2023. What was my most important goal for next year? So this year, stabilizing the business, making it more profitable, cutting costs, increasing revenue, allocating more reprices on this before looking into expand. I want to be able to look at the business. So knowing the money I'm making and running it successfully. Why is this goal important to me? Currently having two sites. I want them to be working independently, so both self-sustaining, where the other one wasn't relying on the other. It's important because having this, it's important to me because it's about having an opportunity and a sound and correct business where I know exactly what I need to do in terms of covering all the costs, because I had no idea what I need to do. What will the success look like? Having a salary that supports both mine and Charlie's lifestyle, saving money for the future and becoming better at what we do. So Q1 was like having an accurate profit and loss every week, month and quarter, knowing our break-even points in the business, how much we need to make to cover all of our costs while reducing costs and finding one new way to increase revenue. So that's like Q1, whether that's through events or whatever.
Yeah, and then you just change it like
Q2. Q2 is like another example. Once we stabilize the business, we're now in a position to expand it, having money in the bank, looking at events and external work to bring in more revenue. So it's just stuff like that. And then it went into health, relationships. So relationships, because this was before I even met Danica. So to find more meaningful friendships, to have more of a social circle, to have a social circle that challenges me and wants to better me, and networking more in general. Why is this goal important to me? I want to have better friendships, basically. And then sort of like Q1 was get rid of anyone that doesn't serve me or want to be my friend more so, going to classes, networking events. And that was when I first started jiu-jitsu, was in Q1.
Nice.
So that was like something where I was like, I'm going to put myself, because I was terrified of classes, man.
Jiu-jitsu class?
Yeah.
Are you terrified now?
No, I love it. I'm obsessed. But it says like go to a jiu-jitsu, go to a meditation class, going to a retreat, a networking a bit. So it's just all these things.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I was rambling, but I'll send that to you.
My resolutions were basically all of it was on on podcast. Just record at least 52 episodes, at least 80% of it. So we did that. I'm really happy. And the chocolates, but like not eating chocolates and cakes.
You smashed that, man. I have no idea.
I can't believe
you did that.
I can't believe I did that. Because
like, I was eating pastries in front of you, and I was like, how does he not even want this? I must have offered you so much chocolate as well.
I was such a sweet tooth as well, and I just didn't want it. So I'm really happy about that. And yeah, so these two were the main ones. But like this year, just had so much change. Like moved to Manchester, changed jobs
multiple times.
Yeah, crazy.
Recorded 42 episodes. Yeah, it's been a challenge, man.
Oh, it's been such a crazy year, man. But then for next year, I've got, I want to complete a counseling course because I'm starting that in January. Run 100K, doing that in May. And then quit caffeine entirely for the year, obviously. So that's no coffee, no tea, no soda, no dark chocolate, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Cocoa powder.
That's
pretty much it
as well. Getting more guests on here as well. That's another one.
Yeah, that's another one we're gonna discuss tomorrow, I guess.
That was actually something I had on this as well with the podcast. Was I think it was like getting 4 guests, and that was it.
Oh, for this year?
For this year,
we had like 5, which we got.
We had 5, yeah.
Which we got, yeah. We got 4, Charlie, Joe, and then we're supposed to have one today, but
it is what it is. Sweet. Do you want to wrap it up there?
Yep.
Cool. Do you have a conclusion, or are you happy for me to conclude it? I'll conclude it. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for everyone that made it this far into the podcast. A happy new year to everyone. Definitely comment below what your New Year's resolutions are. We'd love to hear from you in general, because we could also follow it and chase it and see where you're at halfway through the year. In fact, we could do an episode next year, June, which would be halfway through, to be like, how's your New Year's resolution?
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely get in touch. More exciting things happening in terms of like guests, what we've got planned. So yeah, stay in tune, and we'll see you in the next one.